Writing your first book is actually probably, in many ways, the most fun book you're ever going to write, because my first book, there was none of the thought of, where am I going to sell it and who's going to buy it and how will they review it and how will I promote it? It was just, I love this idea. So writing my first book was amazing. It was just, going into the process and enjoying where the characters took me. I didn't care about where the plot went. It didn't occur to me that maybe it needed to end here or maybe I needed a dark thing to happen. None of those things really occurred to me because I was still pretty untrained. I actually wrote my first book when I was about, is anybody here 13 or 14? No? Raise your hand if you are, because I can't hear you. Are you 13 or 14? Yes! Okay, so that's about how old I was when I wrote my first book. It went nowhere. It went right under my bed, and I think it's probably still there with dust bunnies. But it wasn't very good at that point, but it really was fun to write. I realized I loved doing this, but I didn't get serious and write a book, this book, until much later. This is my fourth serious book that I wrote as an adult. My first one was tragic, so bad you can't imagine. The second one was a little better, and I started to get some feedback from people on that one. I finally wasn't afraid to say, okay, do you want to read this? The first one was so bad I knew, you don't want to read this. I don't want to read this. You certainly don't want to read it. But the second one I sent out, and I started getting some critiques on it, and that's when other people look at your work. You have to do that at school, right? Everybody, you have to nod because I won't hear you right now. But
yeah, if you want to say something, you'll unmute it.
Oh, awesome. Okay. So I did that and started getting feedback. I still had a ton of changes to make, but then my third book, I actually got my literary agent with. Your agent is a person that can come in and actually help you sell your book to publishers. So my third book got me my agent, but it still didn't sell. It was actually my fourth book. 6 months later is my fourth book. And I wrote it in about 6 months, ironically, since it's called 6 months later. So. I don't know if you guys.
Go for it.
Are we taking turns or something?
Apparently.
If you have a question, go ahead.
Pressure. The pressure of a question.
Speak out.
Okay. What inspired you to write your book?
This one in particular, 6 months later?
Yes.
Okay. So this one in particular, I actually, I had a creepy dream. And it's a little sad, and I shouldn't admit this in front of teaching professionals, but I had a dream while I was at work and supposed to be working, and it was such a boring day that I fell asleep. I really did. It was terrible. But it was awful. I was a paralegal. If you only knew. It was so boring, you would forgive me. So there I was, sitting there, supposed to be working, and I just kind of nodded off in your desk. Not that you would ever do that or know what that's like, but you know what that's like. You're just sitting there and you're like, okay, I'm just going to close my eyes for a moment. And it literally felt like 10 seconds, but I had this kind of quick snippet dream where I opened my eyes, and this had all happened on I think it was May, and it was the middle of the afternoon. It was really sunny, and I'm like, I don't want to be here. I want to be outside. I can see birds, and the sun was shining. And I kind of drifted off, and in my dream, I opened my eyes, and it was dark and snowing. And it was so creepy. Nothing had happened, nothing negative had happened. There was no serial killer chasing me, and I'm a writer. That stuff happens to me in dreams. But it was really scary. It stuck with me. I thought, how terrifying to lose, this huge chunk of time. What if you fell asleep in May and you woke up and it's December or whatever? It just kind of stuck with me. So that's what inspired this book, as I started looking at that and saying, what would it be like to lose that kind of time? What if nobody knows you lost it? Most books that have amnesia in them, everybody knows maybe you got hit on the head, and everybody's like, we want them to remember. But in this book, the difference is no one knows that Chloe lost her memory. It's something she actually has to hide. So I really liked that creepy feel and just the absolute mind-bending, what on earth is happening to this girl? Why did this happen? And no, it was not an accident. She did not get hit on the head. So.
How do you get over writer's block or losing interest in the story idea?
Can I segue here into something kind of about that? Is that okay, Pam?
Oh, this is all you.
Oh, good. Okay, awesome. All right. So I'm going to do a little thing. I'm going to try to I'm going to mess with the controls for a minute here because I am not smart enough to figure this out. Okay, there I am. All right. Okay, so I have a really short 15 steps to writing a book by me, and this will deal with writer's block and kind of everything else. So, and I have cards, like, because I'm so high tech. Step one is I have an idea, and usually that is my favorite part. This is where you're like, oh my gosh, I had this dream. It was so creepy. I love this dream, and she lost her memory, and she can't remember what happened, and what am I going to do with that? And everything is like wide open. You're very excited. You have a new character in your brain. Everything feels extremely fresh. That brings you straight into step two. I love my idea. I want to marry it. I want to take it out for dinner. Like, I'm so excited about the book at this point. You know, it's still an idea and it's really fun. Then I go to step three, which is where I'm drafting my book or my idea. So, do you like my art, my little pencil? I'm not an artist. Maggie is an artist, you know. I'm not. But that's my pencil because it's better than my laptop. I use the word draft here instead of the word write because I don't think I'm writing in my first draft. I'm drafting. This is like a satchel of bones. I kind of puke up a general book and it's horrible. And then I realize step four, I don't like my idea very much anymore. This happens every book. This is my first block. I'm like, oh, this is a mess. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. So that's when step five comes in. I edit my book. I have my X and my exclamation points and all this jazz here. Step 6 through 12 would be edit more, stress more, rewrite, rinse, repeat. I can't tell you how many times I edit. 6 months later, I think went through nine total revisions. I think Gone Too Far, my second book, maybe went through 13. And I wanted to show you guys kind of what it looks like. You guys all have to edit for your work. So I think sometimes people think, you know, I'm sitting here, I'm a professional, I have a book, it's doing well, you know, I know what I'm doing, I don't have problems. My very last run of edits, like we even, as writers, we have several levels of edits. You have your first edits with yourself, then you have edits with a critique partner, then you might have edits with your agent, which I did do. And then you'll have edits with your editor at the publishing house. So after my edits with my editor at the publishing house, you know, I've read this book 6 or 7 times. So you'd think at this point I've caught everything, being that, you know, I'm a professional writer and all. No. So I printed out. This kind of gives you an idea of what it looked like. That was one page. That's not even a terribly bad page. I tried to find you some that were pretty bad. But as you can see, like, I am butchering my crap to the end, like, because I always want to choose every word carefully, and it can block you. I mean, you can really get stopped to a point where you're like, I can't stand this scene. I can't work with it. I have a lot of ways of getting around that. It depends on what you're stuck with. If you're stuck with a scene, I recommend kind of breaking apart the scene a little bit. Use highlighters. If you notice, like when I showed you my book here, like this binder version, it's very different reading something in print than it is reading it on screen. So one of my versions of editing, I will always actually print my book. And dude, it costs a ton. It's like $40 to do this at Staples, but it's worth it because I read differently. I read it more like a reader. Another thing that's really good is read it out loud. Oh, my family loves it when I'm reading an entire novel out loud, but I do. Because you hear it differently. Your dialogue sounds different. Your description sounds different. I do all kinds of crap to edit my books. But in the end, I always like them a lot more. So, but at some point in that editing process, and if you guys are writers in any form, you know this, I get to the point that I hate my idea. There's my little fist of rage. Because I'm very angry. At this point, I call my critique partner and I either cry or scream, both. Usually with caffeine and chocolate in both hands. It's ugly. It's really, really ugly. And it's easy at that point as a writer to want to kind of walk away because, you know, your idea is hard. The writing isn't going smoothly. You can't figure out what to do. A lot of times you'll write yourself into a corner that you don't know how to get back out of. The trick there is sometimes you do need to put it away. If you are at that place, and I always know when I need to put the book away. It's when I hate it. When I'm really angry and I'm like, I don't like this anymore, I need to put it away for a couple of days. And when I come back, I feel fresh and I can usually see those scenes with a new perspective. So that brings me to step 14, which would be, that's right, edit the book again. Usually at this point, once I hit that final version, if you see my hair is calming down, like in step 13, oh, I don't even have hair. Like I lost my hair, that's valid. Here it's calming back down again, and then step 15, my idea is finally a book, and usually by this point, I do actually kind of like the book again. So I think it's, now, you'll talk to other authors, and every author has their own process, and so do you. So never question, like, well, I don't do it just like they do. That's okay. That's really good. But if your process involves that, I'm blocked, I hate this, I don't know how to get around it, that's okay. Mine does too. And I make it through every time. The whole point is persistence. Know when you need to put it away for a while, and look at it in a variety of ways. Print it, read it out loud, have somebody read it to you. Yeah, they better be a really good friend to do that. That's a lot of book. But you know, those are kinds of things that I use for blocking. So, all right, who hasn't asked me something? I think you guys are muted, though, so if somebody has a question, I can't hear you.
I didn't know if you wanted, Amy and Craig maybe wanted a chance to speak, so maybe we'll let Amy say hello.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
I was going to ask you if you did read your books out loud as part of your editing process, but you answered that.
Yeah.
But how old were you when you started putting stories together?
Well, interestingly, I wrote my first book when I was 13. I told them I might have been 14. I think it was about 13 though. But I wrote my very first awesome novel kind of material. It's actually a poem called Barbara Frances Bizzlefish's She Would Not Dare Do the Dishes. That actually was nominated for a Young Authors Conference. And at that point, I thought, what? People can do this? This is amazing. What, people get paid to do this? But to be honest with you, I really wanted to do it always. To be honest, I can't imagine a time that I didn't think writing was the only job I really wanted. But logic did step in my way for quite a while, and I went to school for business, and I was a paralegal. I've been a project manager. I did very boring Dilbertville things. I still do a little bit, but writing has always kind of been my passion.
Cool, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, what would you do if you had a deadline coming up really quick? Like, let's say you were in Mrs. Walker's creative writing class and you had not done your homework and you had
Creative writing.
Bailey 24 hours to finish it up and you were kind of blocked. What would you do if you knew that you had to get something done in a short period of time?
Okay, this happens. This totally happens. It's okay. I'm you. I'm with you. You are all right. You can do this. Okay. First of all, invest in a little bit of caffeine. This is wise. Not Red Bull insanity. I'm just talking maybe one soda. Nothing crazy. Don't go nuts because it'll make you insane if you're too jittery. I will tell you, I have, taken a couple of Starbucks and then been like, oh my gosh, now I can't think because I'm just vibrating around my chair. At that point, what I do, and I do end up on very tight deadlines. I'll end up with blogs that I have to write in an hour and a half. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to come up with a blog. Do take a moment to plan. Like, take 20 minutes to sit down and say, okay, I need an outline. If you have to write a project, depending on the length, if you have to write a 5-page project, make sure that you have a half a page dedicated to what does this need to include? What are my requirements? At that point, you want to probably make sure that you have some of your basics, like I like to call it the skeleton. Get the bones of the story in place. It's okay if it's ugly. It's okay if you're like, insert some crap about this here. That's okay. We do that too. Then you can go in and fill it in. Once you have a skeleton, you can kind of see where the rest of the things go. You don't know where to put the kidneys until you have the ribs and the spine in. But once you start having the skeleton of a story in place, your characters, what's going to happen first, what's going to happen after that, your basic order of the paper, then you're going to kind of know what needs to be filled in. I would do it in a multi-layer approach. I would put down the bones, and then I would go back through and try to just kind of bang out a really ugly first draft, then go through and edit it. And in between those times, get up and take a minute. Take a moment to take a lap around the room, listen to a song, go scream if you need to, do whatever you need to do, but I do recommend stopping between those layers. That's what I would do, and it's what I do. I do it a lot. That's a really good question. I've never gotten that one. That's a really good question.
I have another question in Craig. So
Okay.
do you outline everything, or do sometimes your characters throw you for a loop and do things that you don't expect, but when you go back you find like breadcrumbs, like a trail that kind of leads you to go, why didn't I see this coming?
I love that question. Writers often describe ourselves in one of two ways. We either call ourselves plotters or pantsters. Plotters are people who amaze me. They not only do they outline their book ahead of time, like I'm telling you to do that skeleton, but they will actually have files. They will interview their characters in these incredibly complicated get to know you processes, and they will know not just a rough, like, this is where I'm starting and I know I'm going here, but they're going to have an actual scene by scene play often. And that is insane to me. I cannot even focus on something for more than 5 minutes. That is never going to happen in my universe. I'd be like, what? Or, and this is actually what did happen, I decided one day I was going to be a real writer. I was going to sit down and I'm going to make this all organized just like all these great plotting writers do. And I was so bored that I was like, I don't want to write this. I hate this book. I'm so bored. I know it. So I can't do that, because for me, when I know everything that's going to happen, I'm no longer interested in the story. I need to have some, like, I have no idea what's going on here. Like, I don't know how I'm getting out of that. I will say that I usually do know where I'm starting, and I almost always know my end beat, like where that final scene is going to kind of fall. But, like for Chloe and 6 months later, did I know what happened to her? Nope. I had an idea, but it actually shifted from that. So yes, characters definitely throw me for a loop. Now, I'm not completely mystical about it, like, they're just controlling me. Now, they are mine. I am absolutely in charge, but they definitely, I'll be writing dialogue really fast and realize, like, oh, they just said something that's really relevant, and I think that's where they're going, and I need to pay attention to that. So I'm not really a pantster. Those are writers who write by the seat of their pants. They just fly into the mist. That's something Stephen King said. Kind of awesome. But I've realized that doing that isn't practical now that I'm on deadline. My second book comes out in January. I'm finishing my third right now. That's not practical anymore in my life. So now I'm a plantster. I've made up my own word. I'm kind of by the seat of my pants, but I have to have a little bit of planning. So I know that kind of dodges the question, but does that help a little?
Oh no, that's a great answer. And kind of a follow up to that. Do you know Grant Faulkner and Chris Beatty and that crew at NaNoWriMo? And have you ever thought about doing NaNoWriMo? Is that something that you're familiar with?
Yes, I am familiar with NaNoWriMo. I do not know that crew. I'm a little embarrassed. I'm not very good with NaNoWriMo. I'm actually, I teach classes for writing groups and schools and things like that, and I do a pacing workshop that I'm modifying for NaNoWriMo. It's about writing pacing and kind of applying it to when you have to write quickly, which I know a lot about because I've had a heck of a deadline on this last book. I do really think NaNoWriMo is fantastic. I tried to do it last year, actually with my second book, Gone Too Far. I was going to try to bang out my first draft or a rewrite of it, I think. I don't know. That book's been edited a lot. But at that time, I got edits in for something else, so I couldn't. Oh, no, it was another novel I wanted to work on, and it ended up changing directions. But yeah, I did try to do it, and then I got distracted with edits. It was kind of a bummer. I'm like, oh, I'm excited. I'm doing it. I'm doing all these words. And then I'm like, oh, crap. Now I have to go do edits. But I love NaNoWriMo. I think it's awesome. I think it's great.
Well, thank you.
Sure.
Do you do any research as far as in your books, especially with the amnesia topic that 6 months later deals with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I definitely do research, and I do kind of a combination. I do interviews with anybody that might know something. I talk to anybody that had psychology in their background, counseling in their background. Chloe also suffered from panic attacks and some things like that. So I did some research into that and, what recovering from those kinds of things might feel like at her age. So I do a lot of various research. If anybody ever looks at my browser history, they're going to be very confused because it switches with each book naturally. So I do spend a truly ridiculous amount of time ferreting out crazy things on the internet. But I also like to round out my research. I think it's important to actually talk to real people instead of just constantly looking at things from an internet angle. You know, Wikipedia kind of Wikipediafies everything they give you. So I think it's good to actually go out and talk to people, which I do try to do. Gone Too Far in particular, which I really can't say much about that without giving a lot of it away, but I did a lot of research on that book. And then Caught Red-Handed, my book that I'm writing right now, which hasn't even really been announced, so maybe I shouldn't have said that, but it's actually based in a town that I visited because it was so important to me. It was the first time I didn't do a fictional town, and I'm like, it's really important to me to get this right, to get the feel of the town right. I think that's really important that you take that time to do it right. But that said, people who write historicals, people who write things with tremendous technology in them, that is a realm I can't even imagine. I couldn't do it. There's no way. That requires research that I don't think I would be able to keep up with.
A couple of questions ago, you said that in the story, you kind of knew where it was starting and where it was ending, but that when you got to the end, something different had happened to Chloe than you thought was going to happen. Are you going to tell us what you thought might happen?
I can't, because if you haven't read the book, it would give a lot away. Let's see. There are, how do I say this without saying it? I was surprised. There were people that I thought were involved that weren't, and then there were people that were involved that I didn't think were initially. That would be the biggest thing to say is I was like, oh, this is playing differently than I kind of thought. But when you get into it, something I've noticed, how many of you guys, I'm going to stop myself, raise your hand if you are a fiction writer of any sort, or if you see yourself possibly going that direction. Okay. Something you might notice, maybe not. So, like I said, the plotters don't feel this way as much. Plotters are people who get to know their characters before they even start writing. I really wish that I could do that, but it bores me to tears. So I tend to get to know my characters as I'm moving along. And a lot of times I have to go back because I'll be 3/4 of the way through the book and I'll be like, well, crap, she would never have said that. So I have to go back to the beginning and change several things. That's part of what changed 6 months later is I realized that Chloe's personality was different than I had initially conceived it when I kind of spit her onto the paper. So I had to go back and make her who she actually was. That was where that came from.
And so I have a question regarding flow of your story. You said took you 6 months. How do you keep track of the flow if you step away for a while? Do you have to scan and then pick up, or do you how does that change as you go along?
I gotta say, you guys are coming up with some really awesome questions. I legitimately, these are great questions. I usually get like the same 5 questions, and you guys are hitting completely different things. These are great questions. I'm gonna see if I can actually show you what I do. I wonder if I can share it. Let's see if it works. I've never used this, so if it doesn't, let me know. Perfect. Okay, awesome. So I'll leave it alone. Okay. So yes, I do think something really important, especially if you're writing something that's a novel length, you really do need to stay into it. I often tell my critique partner that sometimes I just open my manuscript to glare at it, and it's true. I'll open it and just be like, I hate you today. I don't want to look at you. But I think it's really important to open that book every single day. Take a look at it, see where you are. Sometimes I'll work for 2 hours and I will bang out 12 words, and they're awful words, like truly epically awful, and I'll delete them the next day. But I do think it's very important. If I'm taken away for a vacation, a conference, school visits, things like that, I definitely do allow myself to reread a little bit. I usually don't allow myself to go back more than 2 or 3 pages. I think that can also distract you. Most writers are inherent editors. We want to constantly get in and fiddle. So if I go back, 3 chapters, I'm going to be lost in Redland forever. Constantly like, oh, that could be stronger. I could work on that. When you're in a drafting mode where you really have to get something done, you can't let yourself edit. And when you do edit, you have to be very controlled about how you're doing it. Like, I am running through this edit for content. I'm running through this edit for this. It's really important to do that or you can lose your deadline. So yeah, what I do often to keep that flow in place is what I was trying to show you is I have a spreadsheet. I kind of know most of my novels end up somewhere between 65 and 75,000 words, my first draft. So I know that 70,000 words is probably a good estimate for my 100%. So I actually have daily word counts that calculate out the percentage of my book that's complete. It's approximate, it's an estimation. It also tells me how many words I've done for the day, how much of my book I have left to do. When I get tight with deadline, like I am right now, I actually have it broken down to how many words do I need to write a day to get this book done. And I estimate 5 days a week. I tend to write 6 days a week. I do take one day off. And some days I'll write for, 45 minutes, and some days I'll write for 4 hours. I would say word count, if you're interested in that. My word counts can range when I'm really hitting a book hard. So I'm drafting. Editing is a little different. So don't feel frustrated with yourself at all if you're not a fast writer or if this is, huge to you. But if I'm drafting, I can do between 500 words is a pretty slow day for me. I would say a top day would be about 4,000 words. And that is a big day. That I'm dead by the end of that.
So I noticed sometimes you get on Twitter and say things like, hit 30,000 on WIP, not there yet. I think I might feel a little jazzed about 40K, but it's cranking along now. And yeah, I'm quoting you.
I was like, that really does sound like me.
Yeah, well, probably exactly like you. So does it help when you send stuff out and get feedback?
I am a rare person that I'm an extroverted writer. I'm sure that shocks you after having me on here. Some writers are really soft-spoken and quiet, and that's so not me. So I love Twitter because I need to hear from people. When I hear from readers, I'm so happy because I'm like, okay, there are people in the universe. It's a really solitary job, and if you're an extrovert, it can be very isolating. So it is incredibly helpful. I love seeing a tweet from somebody I know. I'm like, okay, I'm up, I'm moving. Also, I take frequent breaks. I probably look like the laziest writer in the world. I tend to write in bursts, so I'll write for like 20 straight minutes like a maniac, and then I'm on Twitter or Pinterest or playing or on Tumblr. I don't even know where I go. So I usually do play quite a bit, and then I'll come back to it. But yeah, that feedback is absolutely critical to me. The best part of my job by far is hearing from readers, by far. And things like this. I love stuff like this.
And we appreciate you staying up till almost midnight to do it.
Oh, wow.
I'm always
She's
up
in the
late.
East Coast time zone.
Oh yeah, I know the feel.
Yep. Don't you still have those feels?
No, I just stay up that late for Nick to get off of work.
Nicholas.
Not my fault.
Going a little random here.
That's okay. I'm good with random. I'm always up late, though, actually. So it's funny because, PM, usually when you're on, I'm like, I'm up. Somebody's talking to me. Because I'm usually on really late. It's rare that I'm in bed before 1. So this was actually kind of nice for me that I didn't have to get up at 6 o'clock and put on makeup at 6 a.m. That was a good thing.
Yeah. So it's early. Do you guys have any more questions?
Not that I know of.
I do have one
Are there
question.
more questions than Craig?
I have one more question, and it's kind of an awkward question, but I know that you've got young writers there, and this question is about: has there ever been a time in your writing life where you wrote something that you thought was wonderful and it didn't click with the person that you sent it to, and there's that kind of crushing feeling? And did you ever feel like you wanted to stop writing? And how did you get through that? So I'm asking this for the young ones because I've been there when you're like, this is great. What? And it isn't. And how do you get through that?
That is wow, you guys are really hitting it out of the park. No joke. You really are. You have great questions. I love that question. It's a really honest question, and I'm going to give you a really honest answer. Yes, I have wanted to quit. I have been unbelievably blessed. People have loved this book. I'm talking to you because people loved this book. It was kind of a crazy situation with the book when it sold. It kind of sold at the last minute. It sold. It didn't feel like a very big deal at the time. I mean, it was my first book, so it felt like a really big deal. So I just didn't really expect much to happen because I was kind of like, oh, well, whatever. It worked. I sold. I'm so happy. So when it did go well, I was just absolutely blown sideways. But I did learn really quickly, don't read your 1-star reviews. They hurt. I tend to actually be a person that believes that my writing is less sometimes. You know, I tend to be like, really? You liked it? Did you? Oh my gosh, I'm so happy. So, but there have been things, you know, about the book that I felt pretty good about. Like, you know, I'm like, I think I got the pacing down in this one. So if somebody attacks the pacing, I'm like, what? Really? What did I do? I think part of what you have to do whenever you receive criticism and whenever something doesn't connect is you have to step back, which is so incredibly hard. It's hard for you. It's hard for me, published or not. You know, I tell my husband sometimes, you know, when he's like, you're doing what you love, never complain. And I'm like, honey, my work is reviewed by everyone in the universe. My yearly review is anybody on Amazon. Like everybody gets to have their opinion, which is wonderful. And I love it because you get feedback from everyone, but it can be really hard. So one of the things I do is I just kind of step back and don't overdo it. You know, don't look at too many hard things in one day. And when it comes to criticism in particular, like maybe from a teacher or a critique partner or even a friend that's a good writer and being honest with you, kind of look for commonalities. You know, if you find that 6 people read your work and they all love it and they all are nitpicking 6 different things, you might not have a problem. But if you have 6 people look at your work and 4 of them are complaining that your main character is too cold, she's probably too cold. So those are the kinds of things that you really want to look for in a critique to keep yourself from kind of going down that dark, I'm terrible, I can't do this. You can do this. If I can do it, you can do it. Believe me there. I do not have an MFA. I am not an English professor at Oxford. I am just a regular person who loves books to death. And I kept reading them and studying the craft until I got it right. Read, write. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. But there will be days you don't want to, and there will be days when it's really hard. But I do believe that a lot of getting through those days is just focusing on wanting it bad enough. I think Stephen King, a lot of people have been attributed to a quote similar to this, but he actually said it in his book on writing, which I very highly recommend to anyone who's an aspiring writer. It is absolutely like a Bible to me to go through. But one of the things he said is that talent is cheap. Talent is a dime a dozen. It's hard work that will get you everywhere, and I am an absolute believer in that. And that's what keeps me going is, okay, I can get better. If they didn't like that, I'll keep working. I'll give them something they do like. Did that work? Does that help?
That was awesome.
Thanks. Does anybody else have anything? Can I ask you what you're reading? Like, what are you loving right now?
Okay, what are you reading?
I'm reading the book Thief.
We've got one reading the book Thief. We've got one reading 6 months later. It's halfway through, so I guess it's good that you didn't totally answer my question.
There's
So
one
she's like
reading
months
Fault in
away
Our
to it.
Stars.
So now it should be
Oh,
like 3 months
we've got
later.
one reading Fault in Our Stars, which we're a small town, so the movie has not come to Valdez. So they're reading it first.
I haven't gotten the movie yet.
Well, we only get one movie a week.
Oh my gosh. But it's beautiful where you live.
Yes, it is.
It's
Yeah.
very beautiful.
And when
Well,
these
if you're
guys
ever
have
looking
theater
for
camp, we have
recommendations,
no movie.
I have.
You enjoyed our
I'm reading.
I enjoyed their theater camp, but when they have theater camp, we have no movie. One theater.
one theater, it does it all. Yeah, if you ever run out of books and you want recommendations, get on Twitter and talk to me because I read constantly. I'm in the middle of Lucy Christopher's second book, The Killing Woods, right now. Have any of you read Lucy Christopher's Stolen? Oh,
I
that
just
one's
bought it,
fantastic.
actually. I just bought it.
Did you? Oh, it's so good. It's so good. What else have we read around here? The One and Only Ivan. Has anybody read that? It's a middle grade, I know, but it's, oh my gosh, that book. It's so good. I loved it. That one's,
We have a middle grader here.
yeah. I'm telling you, you got to read that book. I assigned it to everybody in the house. Like the minute I got done with it, as I was sobbing into it, I'm like, everybody has to read this book. Yeah, my family loves having a writer in the house.
Yeah, and most of these guys are about ready to be reading the Alaska Battle of the Books titles.
Oh.
Oh.
So what are they this year? I don't know. I feel totally uninformed.
Fahrenheit 451.
Well, it changes state to state. We have Fahrenheit 451.
Okay, good.
It's always classics. Fault in Our Stars.
Right.
Cinder. Marissa Meyer's
Cinder's great.
Cinder.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've read Cinder, yeah.
She sent us tattoos. We like that.
What?
Outcasts United.
Oh, the one with the pitchfork thingy and that goes underwater. What is that one?
Yeah, that's
That's
Team
it.
Top 10. Outcasts United is about a refugee soccer team down in Georgia.
Oh, okay.
So that one's kind of cool. Let's see what else is on there. I Am Number 4 by Pittacus Lore.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've read that.
Library, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I am number 4. I got that from your giveaway shelf on the library.
What did you do this
I'm reading
for?
it online.
I have extra copies.
I'm reading it on my iPad, I think.
You gave it away a year before we needed it.
I think that was an extra one.
So they busted me out right in the middle of a chat.
That's all right. It happens. They are teens. It's part of their job description.
I'm a tweet.
That's right. That's right.
That's true.
I can't imagine writing for another audience. I really can't. I love it.
Yeah, they are fun. So anyhow, it looks like we're about to pop off and let you go to sleep early tonight. So guys, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Yeah, we
It was
really
awesome.
appreciate
Eat a cookie for me.
And
It
come
was nice
visit
meeting you.
Alaska. We will put you up.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
I haven't touched the cookies.
All right, appreciate it. Good night.
See you guys later. Good night.
I was
Good night.
for the battle.